A very good morning to all my dear students. This is Silpreet Kaur, your social science teacher, and I hope you all are fine at home. Now, we are continuing with the chapter from trade to territory. In the previous classes, we have read how East India comes to India and how they led to the various battles and managed to have several territories in India. We have also seen that company officials become nawabs and company slowly and gradually succeeded in expanding its empire. Now the question arises, what about the southern part of India and especially Mysore? Here we talk about Tipu Sultan, the Tiger of Mysore. Tipu Sultan was also known as the Tiger of Mysore, was ruler of Kingdom of Mysore from 1782 to 1799. He was a scholar, a soldier and a poet. He succeeded Hyder Ali. He was the eldest son of Sultan Hyder Ali of Mysore. Mysore controlled the profitable trade of Malabar coast where the company purchased pepper and cardamom. Now there is a story why he is called Tiger of Mysore. Now kings are often surrounded by legends and their powers glorified through folklore. Here is a legend about Tipu Sultan who became the ruler of Mysore in 1782. It is said that once he went hunting in the forest with a French friend. There he came face to face with the tiger. His gun did not work and his dagger fell to the ground. He battled with the tiger unarmed until he managed to reach down and pick up the daggers. Finally, he was able to kill the tiger in the battle, and after that, he came to be known as the Tiger of Mysore. He had the image of the tiger on his flag. Now, coming back to the story, he succeeded Sultan Hyder Ali and he was taking care of Malabar coast. He was the Sultan of Malabar coast. The company purchased pepper and cardamom from this Malabar coast. In 1785, Tipu Sultan stopped the export of sandalwood, pepper and cardamom through the port of his kingdom, and this allowed local merchants from trading with company. He also established a close relationship with the French in India and modernized his army with their help. This obviously made the British furious. So, they saw Hyder and Tipu as ambitious, arrogant, and dangerous ruler who had to be controlled and crushed at any cost. Four wars were fought between Britishers and Mysore, and they were all known as Anglo-Mysore Wars. In 1799, finally the Britishers won the Battle of Seringapatam against Mysore, and Tipu Sultan was killed defending his capital Seringapatam. Now, Mysore was placed under the former ruling dynasty of Vaidyars, and a subsidiary alliance was also imposed on the state. This is a picture of a big mercantile toy that Tipu possessed. You can see a tiger mauling a European soldier. When its handle had turned, the toy tiger roared and soldiers striked. This toy tiger is now kept in the Victoria and Albert Museum in London. The British took it away when Tipu Sultan died, defending his capital Seringapatam on 4th May 1799. Now we came about the Battle of Panipat. We will basically learn about the war of the Britishers with the Marathas, but this slide is just for your knowledge that 3 Panipat battles had been held before that. Means total 3 battles of Panipat was held in India. Now, the first battle of Panipat fought between Babur and Ibrahim Lodi, second battle of Panipat fought between Hemu and Akbar, and third battle of Panipat was fought between Maratha and Durrani Empire. In this last battle, third battle of Panipat, Marathas were defeated by Durrani Empire, and with this defeat in the third battle of Panipat, Marathas' dream of ruling over Delhi was shattered. Now, war with Marathas. In the late 18th century, the company started facing problems from the Marathas who were aiming to rule over India through Delhi, which was taken as a seat of power in India. Marathas were divided into many states under different chiefs belonging to dynasties such as Scindias, Holkars, and Gadwals. They were held in the alliance under the Peshwa or the principal master, who became its effective military and administrative head based in Pune. Mahadaji Sindhya and Nana Fadnis were two famous soldiers and statesmen of that period. Here, the company had to indulge in war with Marathas to curb down their increasing power. As Marathas were increasing their powers after each and every war, so it was the duty. Now, it was a fear for the Britishers that if the Marathas will be in the power, then they will not be able to rule over India. So the company have to indulge in wars with Marathas to curb down their increasing powers. So totally there three Anglo-Maratha wars were there. The first Anglo-Maratha war was held in 1775 to 1782. It began with the Treaty of Surat and ended with the Treaty of Salbai. There was no clear victor of this war. Then Second Anglo-Maratha War resulted into the British gaining control over Orissa, north of Yamuna, including Agra and Delhi. And Third Anglo-Maratha War was the final and decisive conflict between the British East India Company and Maratha Empire in India. It totally crushed the Maratha power, and Britishers got complete control over territories south of Vindhyas. The Peshwa was removed and sent away to Bithur near Kanpur with the pension. The war left the company in control of most of India. So, we can say that company had pursued aggressively in territorial expansion, and now they wanted something more, and that was supremacy on whole India. So now basically Britishers want supremacy all over India. For that, they have established one more policy, the claim of paramountcy. Under Lord Hastings, Governor General from 1813 to 1823, a new policy of paramountcy was initiated. Now, I would like to tell that Lord Hastings has no relation with Warren Hastings. Okay. Now, the company claimed that its authority was paramount or supreme, hence its power was greater than any other state. In order to protect its interest, it was justified in annexing or threatening to annex any Indian kingdom. Means now they were using illegal power, you can say, and they are telling themselves that they are superior to any other state and their policies. So whatever the Britishers will say will be final. And this process, however, did not go unchallenged. You all know that if someone will tell about their own supremacy, so obviously someone will be there to challenge it. For example, when British tried to annex a small state of Kittur, it is in Karnataka, Rani Chennamma took to arms and led an anti-British movement. She was arrested in 1824 and she died in prison in 1829. But Ranaya, a poor chowkidar of Sangoli in Kittur, carried on this resistance. And with popular support, he destroyed many British camps and records. He was caught and hanged by the Britishers in 1830. I think this much is clear to everyone that Rani Chennamma took to arms means she started protesting against Britishers, and but she was arrested in 1824 and died in prison in 1829. Inspired by Rani Chennamma, Ranaya, a poor chowkidar of that area, also carried on this resistance on her behalf, and with the popular support of all his citizens, he destroyed many British camps and records, and thus he was caught and hanged by the Britishers in 1830. Now continuing with the same, as Britishers were proving themselves as the best power across India, this enhanced their desire to rule whole territories, and they started direct conquest under Lord Hastings. Means the Britishers were proving themselves that they are best power across India, and that's why they were trying to enhance their rules over all the territories of India, and they started direct conquest. In 1830, the company became worried about Russia, who is thought could give a tough competition to the company. Actually, Russia was trying to come to invade India from northwest frontier of India. So there was a need to fight with them. It also took over Sindh, and in 1843, even Punjab, which Britishers were not able to annex during the reign of Maharaja Ranjit Singh, was finally won over by Britishers in 1849. Now we know that most of the India was under control of Britishers because of their vigorous policies of annexations. They also used political methods of annexation. So next in line was a policy of doctrine of lapse. About it we will study in next class. Thank you and have a nice day. God bless you all.